Hey, everybody, welcome to the morning market briefing. It's Monday, July 6th, 2026. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good 4th of July weekend. We'll recap the social activities, sporting events, etc. at the end. But opening up, we're seeing some memory chip rippage, Tom. ASML, Lam Research up about 5% after a weak start to the quarter. We've only had a few trading days in this quarter, but we've seen a very different market dynamic than we saw the previous quarter, which is further cementing my view of just the pace with which these mini cycles are going is really hard to keep up with. I feel like we actively trade portfolios. I would not describe our investment strategy as trading. And so we have seen, even internally, clients have probably seen it, pretty interesting whipsaws in terms of internal portfolio performance, where, hey, if these things are ripping and we don't have enough exposure, okay, we're going to underperform. But we've seen a bit of a change of pace, at least up till today, but perhaps running back to the theme we saw last quarter.
Yeah, it's interesting because the big headline this morning on Bloomberg from 15 minutes ago was that Morgan Stanley put out a report that says now's the time to get out of the chips and go back to the hyperscalers. Things like Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Meta are at unbelievable valuations because, I mean, if you look at the major drag on portfolios for us last last quarter, it was not that we didn't own the chips. It was more that we did own Microsoft, which, I mean, if you haven't owned Microsoft since I was in diapers, you've been in a bad spot in terms of performance against the market. So it was a really unusual quarter in terms of the huge divergence where there's a handful of chip companies just skyrocketing up, high double digits, some low triple digits in a single quarter, while, Microsoft is down 20%. So it's an interesting dichotomy. Whether or not Morgan Stanley is correct, at least in the short term, doesn't look right, though a lot of the Mag 7 is up this morning, but not to the tune of 5%, more like right around 1. It looks like it's going to be a nice green open, but if you're not overweight the chip makers, you're probably going to be falling behind on the day.
It is interesting to me that from a market perspective, we're so focused on, when I say short term, I don't mean, this quarter, but call it the next 6 quarters, 8 quarters, whatever it is, year and a half, 2 years. We're so focused on the demand in the chip cycle. We're so focused on the pricing power they have, and yet we seem to be completely ignoring what the chips are being used in the compute applications that would be favorable for much of the Mag 7. And it's just kind of like, well, I don't know, people need a lot more chips and they're spending a lot more money on them. Lost in there is kind of that implication. And I think I was thinking about this over the weekend. We've seen interesting implications as it relates to tariffs. When we thought about tariffs, everyone was very quick to accept the notion that the end consumer would get the cost. That was the overriding narrative. And go back in time, suspend the reality of where we are in which tariffs were actually suspended and refunds issued. But that was the popular narrative. Hey, an iPhone is going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars. It's going to be impossible to get these things because the tariffs are going to get passed through to the final consumer. It's interesting that no one seems to think that more expensive chips will create lasting pricing power for some of these services. I think people are willing to accept that, hey, Apple products may go up in price, and they have, but they've not gone up in price to the extent that these chips have, which would imply to me that, hey, there's some power and there's some leverage and there's some price agnosticism from those buying these chips. And I'm not saying that that's rational or that's good, but it means somebody will ultimately pay for it. And we seem to be really slow to accept that, hey, it might be us.
Yeah, I mean, famously, Jeff Bezos said, your margin is my opportunity. So if somebody's making an 80% margin, there's always someone who can go in and make 20% margins and be very profitable. And so, dare I say, it could be transitory.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that there's sort of two stories going on simultaneously here, which is that the chips are ripping, but then on Friday we also saw that a major data center project that was slated to go in Virginia was basically the government decided, well, we probably won't make any money on this, and so we're going to shut it down. So there's also this sort of the compute necessary may not be there, and they're starting to see some of these data center projects fall apart. I was going back and forth a little bit with a super user. We'll use the code name Scott, about this data center. And it seems like an excuse because in my experience, if the government wants to do something, they do it. They're like, oh, well, popular opinion said we shouldn't open this data center.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. When was the last time the government stopped doing something because popular opinion didn't really
Yeah.
go their way? I think it's an excuse. I think that there's a possibility, and to Morgan Stanley's point, that towards the back half of the year, what if Google and Microsoft and Apple said, hey, we don't actually need to do all this CapEx, or Meta, and they're like, hey, we're actually going to scale it down a little bit. Those stocks are going to rip. And you know where that money's not going to be going? Into these chips at 80% margins for Micron and AMD. And you can see a complete flip in the second half. And if, people aren't, it's cheaper for Microsoft right now, just hire someone to do the work than it is for them to have people token maxing and spending $2 million a day, firing into Perplexity AI.
Shout out to Hicks.
Shout out to Hicks.
We had to rein him into $1 million of token usage a week. But we've got him. But that's...
They call him the Midnight Toker.
Yeah. And you guys all reap the benefits of it when you get to see the cool, photos on the YouTube channel and the captions.
Yeah, we scaled down. We actually bought a cardboard cutout of John Cena. That's just been CGI the entire time. We've used AI to put a narwhal hat on his head.
You can probably tell slightly different coloration. We got rid of. We had this guy made named Ben, and he sat where I'm sitting right now. We ended up saying, hey, let's stop using Robo Ben, and we'll figure it out. We'll see if we can find a guy that looks like him tomorrow and see if we can sit here. Broadcom is back in the ASIC business. Broadcom and Apple have agreed to expand their longstanding technology collaboration through 2031 by entering a new multi-year long-term agreement for Broadcom to develop and supply a range of custom ASIC silicon products for use in multiple generations of Apple products. Pretty interesting, especially the way that this is being released. It seems like it's not just more of the same, potentially a little bit more scale, more going on there. So something to keep an eye on. The Broadcom Apple saga has spanned a decade of drama, it seems.
Yeah, that was always, going back as long as I remember, who's going to be the Apple chip provider has been an ongoing saga. And then, it kind of just always stays the same. But it's always like, and that's the power that Apple has. They're kingmakers, even with other companies that are massive.
Yep.
They can just turn off the money spigot if they choose to, and they want to go a different direction, and they can create a new vassal to the great fruit company.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Goldman just back in the headlines again with advising on another deal. Solstice is acquiring Element Solutions for $14.5 billion in cash and stock. Solstice was spun off from Honeywell back in 2019. And plays in a similar space to if you're a long-standing client or listener, Cabot Microelectronics, CCMP was the ticker. It was acquired by Integra. Solstice plays in this similar spot where they're essentially making small components that go into chips. So
similar small slurry space.
Similar small slurry space. Say that a bunch. So pretty interesting. I honestly, I think the biggest takeaway on this is, unsurprisingly, there's activity in the M&A world as it relates to chip manufacturing, given where we are in this cycle. Equally unsurprising, Goldman making a fortune off this.
Yeah.
They're just absolutely crushing it right now.
In the notes, Ben specifically said they might make more on this than they made on the SpaceX deal, but this is like doing pro bono work for a major murder case. The idea is that, you're going to protect, Casey Anthony, but you're going to get a lot more cases on the backside that you're going to actually get paid for because you were on TV every day for 3 years. And I think that's basically what Goldman did with the SpaceX IPO, because it's been all Goldman all the time since they got the tap to do the SpaceX IPO.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable the year that they're going to have.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a slowdown. We've talked about some of the IPOs getting pushed back a little bit in the calendar year. But the point here would be they don't need an IPO to just print money. They can have deals like this left and right, and it seems like every single week we're getting one that's in the tens of billions of dollars in impact.
They're one of those where I always think of like Goldman being between $200 and $300. Like in my head, it's always like that was kind of like if you're going to buy Goldman, it's $1,000 stock now.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts what they managed to put together, really post COVID.
Yeah. EU, some interesting commentary here on their block system. Former ECB President Mario Draghi saying, hey, we've got these 27 Eurozone countries. As it turns out, what's there's nothing that's good for all of them. This is not something that's one size fits all. We need to break this down into smaller blocks. I feel like we have alluded to that on this call dozens of times.
Yeah.
But shout out to him for listening and publishing that.
This is on the front page of the Wall Street Journal this morning, and I saw it and I added it to the notes because it obviously made me smile. But what really made me smile is, I don't know if Hicks, I put it in the chat, but I don't know how Ben puts the actual graphics in, but there's a graphic.
Yeah, we're missing
that
the Ben
shows
software.
On one side, it says number of EU companies with capitalization over €1 billion created from scratch during the 50 years leading up to 2024. And that number is 0. And then on the other side, it says all 6 U.S. companies with a valuation of over €1 trillion were created in that period. But basically, his assertion is that the EU doesn't really work because you've got a number of different countries that want to do different things. You basically got, the mega block of France and Germany that want to do, they want to be homogenized on the financial space. They want to be, throwing their weight around because they're bigger, larger, more industrial companies. You've got essentially the Western side. You've got Sweden and Poland that are worried about Russia. They want to beef up defense. You've got the southern region, which just stinks out loud. That's the reason they call them the pigs. Portugal, Italy, Greece, Spain, which have been constantly going bankrupt for the last forever.
Our whole career.
Yeah, just chilling down there in the sunshine. But his idea is you basically need to break it into different blocks and have those blocks sort of work autonomously. And it's just a credit to how the U.S. works. I mean, it's sort of like we have a self-healing system because when things get out of control in California from a regulatory position,
people move.
Yeah, they go to Texas and Florida. When New York becomes a communist caliphate, those companies are going to move to Texas too. And so there's all these different moving pieces where we have 50 states with 50 different interests and 50 different tax strategies that can be changed autonomously, have nothing to do with the federal government, and we can self-heal and continue to be innovative. Whereas the European Union can't do that. I mean, Poland has done a fair amount of resisting, and surprise, surprise, has been the newest country in the world to hit the $1 trillion mark on GDP. But I mean, we do that 20 times over in a single year, and they have 27 countries, and they don't even sniff our GDP. They wish they could. They wish they could sniff our GDP.
They would love to. There's a little scratch and sniff on the GDP sticker.
But we dog on Europe and all these different things, but they basically said the fact that they can't figure out their own trade barriers intra-country, even though they have a central trading body, amounts to a 44% tariff on their own goods from each other. So they can complain about our 15%
Lots
tariffs.
of own goals going on.
But, he basically said, we've got to reduce regulation. We've got to make it so these companies can be big and can make money, because all they do all day is try and, ding Google and Apple and Meta for $10 billion a year so they can fill their coffers by, touting their beautiful regulations, but they don't make anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to me that so many interesting ideas came from Europe, but where they really blossomed is here in these United States over the last 250 years.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this. Somebody who's 80 years old has existed for a third of the entire existence of the U.S. And in that period of time, we've gone from being, a backwoods coastal colony system to absolutely dunking on everybody all the time with absolutely no remorse. And it's just a great place to be. And Europe is sad, and they have their soccer.
Yeah,
they
but do they?
It,
I mean, do they? I mean, I will say I've whined about soccer a lot. I'm excited about tonight's U.S. game, 8 p.m. I'm excited because I am now individually, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the country, but I am in a no-lose scenario because over the weekend, FIFA reversed. They suspended the suspension of, is it Balogun?
I don't know how to say his name.
Balogun? Hicks, do you know? Hicks doesn't know. Nobody knows.
Baby Belugan in the Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, but they suspended his suspension, meaning that he can play. And the haters and losers of the international variety, of which there are so many, are absolutely beside themselves. There are reports that Trump was putting in the call to the head of FIFA, whatever that guy's title would be. I don't know if he's the president of FIFA, the executive director, whatever. Trump put in a call. Howard Lutnick supposedly was involved in the discussions to remove this suspension, which I think most soccer fans generally felt like, well, they called it, but I wouldn't agree with the call, but the rules are the rules. Well, that guy's playing now. He's supposed to be out for the game. Having watched, I guess, 3 U.S. soccer games, I'll tell you, that guy's built completely different than everyone else on our roster. He is incredibly athletic. Seems to be much better than all the other players on our team. So he's now playing in the game tonight. If the U.S. wins, they're going to be even more upset, and I love that. And if the U.S. loses, I'll officially be in the camp of like, why do we care? Like we cheated, guys, and we still couldn't do this. Why do we still have to watch soccer? So I'm in a no-lose scenario as it relates to tonight's game. Obviously, I would prefer the U.S. to win. Like if we're gonna watch, let's just win the whole thing. If we're gonna sit here and pretend we care, it's a sport where they can't even figure out how to keep time. It's a sport where nothing happens except for like the closing minutes of each half.
I mean, the former drama students of the United States are absolutely pretzeled because they love soccer, they hate Trump, but then Trump saves soccer.
Yep.
And they don't know what to do.
So many tears in their neckbeards.
Yeah, so many. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I would say that, and I'm going to exclude Ben from this because Ben is vaguely European / African / I guess New Zealand. We picked that one up this week. But the Venn diagram of did not play a sport in high school
and love
and
soccer.
Number one favorite sport is soccer is so high. And then you add the third piece of hates America, and it's so tough because like
I would argue the only people that did play a sport in high school that really like full time love soccer, get up and watch the games on Saturday, morning. The only people that did play a sport played soccer.
Yeah, they played soccer. Yeah. Which is fair. Fair is fair. I was up watching rugby. And nobody cares.
Rugby.
Nobody cares about that. Nor do I care if they care about that. But, shout out to Ireland for having a great day, as well as, big match. Unfortunately for England, who it's tough. I don't know where Ben's going to fall on this one, but South Africa absolutely just stomped England. So
something tells me Ben would be
there's no flopping, no crying.
He'd be a South African fan in rugby.
Yeah, I mean they're number one in the world, so for a reason.
It's going to be interesting tonight to see what happens. I'll watch it. The rest of the week, we've got ISM services coming out a little bit later today. We're going to hear from Waller today. We'll get the trade deficit for the month of May on Tuesday. Get the meeting minutes from the Fed. And Pepsi earnings sneaking out on Thursday, 30-year bond auction. So not a crazy week, but,
we'll see what happens. It could be everything could be different tomorrow.
Yeah.
We might be at war with Belgium.
Yeah.
I will say I was looking for Twitter commentary on this Wall Street Journal article, and I was telling Hicks about this. You know what France's number one export historically is? It's the language of French to the world's worst countries. If you look at all of the countries that speak French that are not France, you are going to find some of the worst, most corrupt, most disgusting countries on the planet. And it's not even close.
I love that a major outcome is that now people think, hey, maybe FIFA's corrupt.
Yeah. So
like,
it's just...
I don't follow soccer, and it's like, this is well known.
Yeah. I mean, Canada's on that list, too. People forget.
Yeah. Man.
But so is Haiti. So is the Congo.
Tough time.
You just look around. It's tough.
Canada got waxed the other day, I think.
Yeah, 3-0.
Yeah.
And then the coach said they were better than... I don't know who they played. I saw... I look at Twitter.
Belgium's quote, at least according to Twitter, was like, "I didn't realize April Fool's Day was July 5th," which is a sick burn.
Hey, man,
got him.
Nailed it.
Right, now we don't have time to prepare for this player that's really good. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like maybe just assume they're all good.
I mean, do they have April Fool's Day in Europe? I mean, Father's Day. My understanding is it's not the same. Like Mother's Day and Father's Day are just different days.
Yeah.
So, and Canada Day, I guess, was recently because there was a pretty funny video of their DEI 21 Sun gun salute. They were showing they had like a special squadron of different rainbows and colors that came out to celebrate Canada Day, and their marching was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen in my life. Look it up on Twitter. It was not AI. It was very funny.
Let's check it out.
So Yeah, good call today, I think.
Yeah,
I think we
good
did a
stuff.
good job here.
We're interviewing people that look like the character that was played by an AI agent. We'll see if we can find somebody today, get them back in the seat tomorrow, and we'll talk to you then.